All right, so here's our final project demo. Um, Obviously our project is ReadyMedi. I'm Sandra Botero, and everyone else can introduce themselves when they get to their respective parts. Okay, so the overview is health is an important part of any person's life, and in today's fast-paced society, people have begun lacking time to check up on themselves, and that's where ReadyMedi comes in. So on the graph, patient wait times for in-person appointments can be quite long, and oftentimes a person will opt to decide that they don't have time to go get seen in between work or school, and so they will neglect their health. So ReadyMedi is a solution to this as an online health symptom tracker with a database to correlate symptoms from the patient with our existing database of illnesses. We get the symptoms from the patient through a questionnaire, which will evaluate their answers, evaluate the answers, and then reference the database from the correlating symptoms, and then output a percentage of the likelihood of said illness based on an algorithm. Okay, so the first quiz design is what I worked on. It's testquestionpage.php. It's currently it's on the current version of the website, but it did serve as kind of a basis for the current version. It uses the form builder tool by Josh Can Help, which was approved. As I said before, it queries the database. The database also has its own question table with the question and in one row and then the answers in another row. So it just loads those in to variables from the database. And then after you're done, you hit submit, and then it will and then it outputted the likelihood based on the first algorithm. They are passed as binary values, and then the function takes care of that, but I'll let the backend team talk about their algorithm when it gets to it. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to move on to the demo portion. So here is the PHP for the test question page. It's very repetitive because at one point I thought that the for loop was breaking it and not having it display. And I didn't really get a chance to condense it because after the Senior Project Expo, Chrissy began working on a new question page. So this is the where is it? Yeah, so this is the check illness function. I'm not going to go into detail about that. But so from here we have the database connections, and then it imports the form builder, does this to get the for the for the form. Okay, so like I said, it's one at a time. So this is in the format for the form builder, so it's going to look different than Chrissy's version, which doesn't use the form builder. So it loads in the answers, puts them in the array, and then it does that. It's just, like I said, it's really repetitive. And then we build the form, and then it posts the binary values from the question into these variables, which then go into the check illness. Another thing that I also did, I did just some minor appearance changes, and then I also worked on Chrissy's current quiz a little bit. I'm not sure if this is the correct file, but the point is I did make it so that it displayed them one at a time. However, it also breaks the evaluation algorithm, so this is currently not on the live version, but I thought I'd show it anyway. And then I also made this, changed the homepage a little bit. I added the background image, designed a new logo, and then put the text over here. And then there's a button right here that goes right to the quiz. All right, so that about does it for my portion. I'm going to pass it off now.
Hello, my name's Christine, and originally I started out as the well, it was supposed to be the back end only with Julius and Michael, but due to time conflictions and scheduling and sorts of things, I kind of ended up winding up being the full stack dev for the team. So I was touching both front end stuff and back end stuff. Let me go ahead and share my screen real quick and make sure everything's ready. Let's see here. Sorry. And share screen. Okay. So first part, let's see here. I think I may have skipped a slide. No, okay, I'll just get to it later. Okay, so just going back and forth, I'll move over to the quiz portion first. Essentially, after the senior expo, I redesigned what Sandra had created and focused on getting that for loop to work. Essentially, I was very focused on getting everything in our project more optimized. And what I encountered was the reason why Sandra had to sort of hard code those specific questions and answers was because, well, initially there wasn't a question ID or really a foreign key from the questions to the symptoms. So there's no way to correlate that information back over to the questions. So what I did was create a set of several subqueries, as we'll see, where in this first section, we're simply just gathering the data of the questions with their names related to the symptoms that the user may have said yes to. And down here below, you'll see that I'm printing out the question and its associated answer in that database, which is simply yes or no. But the only difference is that when a user submits yes, it will store the actual symptom value that correlates to the question. And by doing some inner joins with the question ID, as well as the new column that I added in both tables, that's how I was able to get those together with foreign keys. And going through, this is where after the user submits their answers, it stores their symptoms in a symptom array. From here, essentially what I'm trying to do is just gather all the symptom IDs that the user said yes to, and that will be important for this next part, where we're trying to compare all of the illnesses that respond to the submitted symptom. So in our symptom or illness symptom table, there are several duplicates of symptoms, and that's because, well, if you have a cough, that doesn't simply mean you have cold, but it can mean that you can have a multitude of things. So what I'm doing here from a previous slide, I counted only the distinct symptoms, and that way going through, I only count the distinct amount of times that a symptom applies to its respected illness. And as you can tell from the previous slides, there was a lot of queries and such, but by using the distinct symptoms, say like cough applies to cold and flu, that will be counted twice and not necessarily like 10 times, since cough was duplicated several times in an illness table. And here, essentially, I'm just sorting out the illnesses that are the ill IDs that I'd gathered, and it counts how many times each ill ID or each illness had occurred in the, excuse me, when after the user submitted their symptoms, and it calculates how many symptoms that they said yes to. This essentially counts how many times that particular illness was accounted for from those submitted symptoms. So for instance, say like based on how many times cough was, or how many times the symptoms that correlated to cough were counted, that means or cold was counted, that means cold was counted 3 times, or flu was counted 3 times. There. Excuse me, I'm a bit nervous right now. From here, we're essentially just printing out the names of the symptoms that the user had. This particular slide was going to be used for the history functionality, which unfortunately I was not able to implement. So essentially, what would have happened if we were able to get this functionality part to work would have been where if the user had gone to their history profile, they would be able to see the list of symptoms that they had said yes to in previous quiz attempts, and that would be stored in their account every time that they submit a quiz. So if let's see here, if I go ahead and switch over to, let's see here, go to here. Right now, I currently have the older UI set up where it has this pinkish color. So if I click on, say, like, yes, overweight, yes, sleep deprived, no high body fat, no insomnia, snore loudly. It doesn't have to be all the questions submitted, but essentially any list of them I could submit yes or no to. If I hit submit, it refreshes the entire page. And at the very bottom, based on the amount of symptoms that I selected yes to, 50% of those symptoms that I had selected applied to the illness obesity, and that illness ID for obesity is 13. And down at the bottom would have been the list of symptoms that had counted towards the user, and this would have been stored in the user table. So for instance, if I have right here the tables, we have J test 3, myself. So if I say describe, because currently right now they're empty since I wasn't able to pass these results over successfully. But if I describe this, it would show the test ID, which would have been like, oh, this is your first test, second test, third test, etc. And another algorithm that I wasn't able to implement would have been calculating the top 3 results. So in the meantime, I had created a first illness, first percentage, second illness, and so forth. And yeah, so I'll go ahead and pass this over to the next person.
Hello, my name is Jesus Rojas. So I wanted to take a little break in our implementation and talk about how we were responsible in managing our files in this nice website project that we had going. Essentially, we hosted our Git repository on GitHub. Our GitHub repository link can be shown in the yellow text. Our policies are like any other normal, where it was a little bit more lenient. For pushing to the main branch, we wanted our team members to have working code to be in order. There have been times where one code could affect other people's code, but we quickly resolve with that with some good time speaking on such as Discord and other messaging mediaries to get things going. With this, our code had to be written in the KNAR style, so to speak. With this, we were all encouraged to set up our own branch and merge accordingly. I'll take you through our repo in just a little bit just to navigate how that is going as well. Currently, I am the one that created the GitHub repository. With this, I oversaw pull merges and all of that sort just to manage to see what files were going in and out. And with this, currently our visibility for the GitHub repository is private at the moment, but we do plan to change that towards the end of the semester, end of May 2023, as with this future development, as time crunches and all, where we couldn't implement some features, we do want to keep this going in the future because it is a great website that if we plan accordingly a little bit more, we can get things going with that. With this, I'll take you to the user login page, and in a little bit, I'll take you through the GitHub and the actual website so we can navigate all together. But a little bit of the login page, we decided to give user access to what they can. So essentially when the users log in, we check for the username just to be sure if they're not relogged, if they don't even have an account created yet. We always double check that. And if there's no username, or in this case there is one, we check if the password is good against their hash password that we have implemented inside the database. Therefore, we have the session active once they're logged in, and we reject any bad username and or password, and we indicate that as well, just to make sure we don't have any SQL injections, other vulnerabilities that may come forth. We like to be responsible. With this, we take it a step with the user registration. Originally, I created this website by using the resources of Dr. Nick Toothman. I based our register.php page against a file that he was using for his CMPS database course in that sense, where features were added by Christine later on. So as she mentioned earlier as well, for the unique user table as allows, when an account is registered, it will be registered in the user table with among those values such as first name, last name, email, and that will be shown in a little bit once we go to the website, how it actually looks, of course. With this, I'll just demonstrate how our GitHub is running. As you can see, on the main page, we don't have all the files presented. When I created this, I assumed that we would have different files everywhere. So therefore, that's why we created a website folder just to show what's actually in here. Here, this is where most of our files for the website are coming from. And if we go back one, we do have a quick temporary file folder for temporary files. This one was made last minute, but it shouldn't be too much to look at, of course. And just a text file for insert statements that we had earlier on. With this, let me show you our actual website. So this is the final look. We are in index.html, the front page, as they say, not the home page, but the home of the index page, so to speak. I will show the first option of take our health scan. This is a button that you can click on, and it will show the final current look of the health scan as Christine was mentioning earlier. And this is where it's a little bit more polished to look. With this, we can start back. And then I'll take you to the about page because we want to send a message to anyone who actually visits our website. Since this is live on Artemis. With this, we provided a contact page, not to contact the team members directly, but to show what they have been doing in this project, such as front end and back end development. With this, to the right, we have a good login button that takes us to the login. If you're not a registered user, this is where the register.php page comes in handy. Therefore, you can put in your first name, last name, email address, username, password, and a disclaimer at the end as for our website does indicate for health scanning, it's only meant to be used as a guide, not so much to replace a doctor and or nurse practitioner. And let me just show how the login could work in this sense. I'll put in my name. For purposes, we'll use an old email that I had just for the sign up. We'll hit enter and our account is made. This one could work. If not, let me try one more time just to be sure. As we do our testing, we may have used other usernames, of course. Right now, I'm just typing in the password. We'll hit register one more time. And therefore, but down below, it does show echo statements of your own table being created that would be used to save information as well. Now we'll go back into the login. This one, go here. And then just for reference, we do have a guest user option where if we click this, it will take us to the link that was earlier where it says take our health scan. We'll try to log in and it takes us to our homepage. At the moment, we have it where it echoes your username. Our account button just takes us back to the home page. We do have old tests. If we click on this, it'll take us to a maintenance page as we want to implement a history portion, as my colleague Christine said earlier, but due to time constraints, we did not make it to that time. But nevertheless, we can go to new test, and this is where the actual health scan is at again. And just to try this one more time, we'll just click a few options. And it will show us our results, like indicated earlier. We can start over, and then we'll go back to accounts. And then we have the option to log out the user, and that takes us right back to the login screen. And that is it for my portion. Let me hand it off to the next person as well.
Hi, I am Julius. Michael is unfortunately not here. He is the other person who worked on the date, mostly the back end. So me and Michael clearly mostly worked on the back end. We set up the database on the Artemis server at CSUB, and we use MariaDB as the database management system. We essentially created the foundation of the database that the website uses to get its data. So it basically contains users as patients, as well as a number of illnesses common in Kern County. Me and Michael would research on using Medline.gov or MedlinePlus.gov to search for illnesses and then cross-reference them with all the symptoms that they had. Here's an example of the illnesses. You would also have a table of symptoms, and then which is this. And we would also have the relation between those two, as many symptoms or many illnesses have the same symptom and different symptoms, and this is the relation between that. And this table is also where we connect the questions on the web page with the symptoms that Christine's code uses. And also worked on the AI with Michael, which he's unfortunately not here, but we do have a recording of his to play. That
Our group wanted to look into implementing an AI into our project. The idea behind this is the possibility of further optimizing a wellness checker. For example, increasing the accuracy of illness predictions. So Julius and I were tasked with looking into it. We discussed building the AI in an optimized way, but with the focus being on making it easily adjustable to add additional data sets or features like age, sex, and ethnicity, and possibly changing the questionnaire to include other response selections besides yes or no answers to symptoms asked, because this would further refine our results, making our predictions accuracy increase. After initial discussions, we decided on a feed-forward neural network with an input layer, 2 hidden layers, and an output layer. There would be 2 activation functions. A leaky ReLU is used in the hidden layers that perform non-linearly, and a softmax classification function in the output layer converts the data passed through the hidden layer through the output layer into a distributed probability. Next, we started working to build the loss function. We decided on using a cross-entropy loss function since we wanted the possibility of predicting not only the illness based on the symptoms, but potentially multiple different illnesses based on a multitude of symptoms. However, time ran short, and we were not able to finish the AI project. But we were able to test and confirm the first part of the AI worked. Having it take in sample data, convert it nonlinearly, then distribute it into a probability. For our future with the AI, we would need to fix the loss function and other bugs that are currently happening in the code. We would also need a one-hot vector on the output for seeing which illness was most likely if we were not making changes. But since we are looking more towards multiple illnesses based off multitude of symptoms, we think creating and using a multi-class label instead of one hot would be better for the ultimate scenario we are looking at.
And that's the end of Michael's portion.
All right. Well, in that case, I believe that concludes our demo. Thank you so much. And thank you for the semester, Dr. Toothman. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you.